Welcome back, Truth Seeker. The big story Sunday, January 22nd, was about the mass shooting in Monterey Park that had reportedly happened late the night prior, Saturday, January 21st. What we're going to do is talk about this shooting, the real meaning of it, what it shows about what's being done to America and who's responsible. Again, it goes back to that Sun Tzu Art of War quote, know your enemy. And sadly, a lot of people in this country, they don't want to know their enemy or even recognize it, I think because it messes with their peace of mind. But again, as a lot of us are learning, ignorance is not bliss. As long as we allow this enemy state to control the United States of America, and it's controlled it for a long time, it didn't just happen. And yes, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are both part of that enemy state, as is Gavin Newsom. But as long as we allow this Jesuit cabal to control this nation, these type of rituals will continue to happen. And once again, we will definitively prove it is the Jesuits who are responsible for the Monterey Park massacre, as they're calling it, during the time of the Chinese Lunar New Year. And in light of China being the big focus, keep in mind China is the country with the strictest gun control laws in the world. In China, the only people who can legally own guns are military, police, and government officials, the authority. And we've seen sentiments of that in the U.S. for over a decade now. Sandy Hook happened at the end of 2012. Who can ever forget Anderson Cooper going on and holding up the drawing of an owl, saying it was a drawing of a little girl who just wanted, in the U.S., for only police and military to be able to own guns. For those of you who are new here, just start with the obvious. A Lunar New Year celebration. Who's the police chief they've had telling us all the news, including that the shooter was a 72-year-old grandpa? Robert Luna. Robert Luna lets us know that the Lunar New Year celebration for Monterey Park's been canceled. He's also given us all the other details of the shooting. And where did he say the shooting happened at? On 1/22. Again, the shooting was January 21st, but he gave us all the news on 1/22. He said the shooting was at 122 Garvey Street. And more specifically, he said the shooting was at about 10:22 p.m., 1022. Does it seem numerological? Again, look into the Fraternal Order of Police. It is the Masonic association that many police officers are a member of. Again, all across this country, small towns, large cities, the police station is right next to the Masonic Lodge. Been talking about this for a long time. It's a fact. Go out and drive across America, and you'll see that it is 1,000,000% true. I just moved to the tiniest town I've ever lived in, and the police station is in the same building as the Masonic Lodge. In Gematria, the word Freemason has a value of 122. So 122 Garvey Street, 10:22 p.m., 1/22, the top news story. 122 is also a very special number to the Jesuit order, as we'll get to. And again, modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit creation. Washington, D.C. is a city where the Jesuits have been for longer than the federal government and the Masons, but it's now known as the Masonic City. I guess since it's become the top detail last night and what they're talking about this morning, the 72-year-old shooter, again, in Gematria, Jesuit order equals 72. Why does that matter? Why does that number matter to the Jesuits? Again, the Jesuits are a sun cult. So think about the sun cult crashing the lunar party. Just think about that for a minute. But in astrology, the sun moves 1 degree on the astrological wheel every 72 years. And again, this 72 number comes up a lot. When Donald Trump was president, again, he's a Jesuit. President Trump equals 72. A lot of 72 rituals with Trump. When President Biden became president, there were a lot of 72 rituals on the way there. He lost his wife and daughter right after becoming senator-elect in 72. Then when he was 72 years old, his son, Beau Biden, died at age 46 before he became number 46. and an election exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. And Gematria Catholic equals 46, like how the nation's first Catholic president was killed at age 46, JFK. Joe Biden's the second, and he's number 46. Remember, JFK met with the Pope on July 2nd, 7-2, before his assassination, a span of 144 days later. 72 and 144 are huge numbers with the Jesuits. They're saying this 72-year-old had a mass killing at a dance ballroom where the gematria of that ballroom equals 144. Remember, they simulated the election at Jesuit Georgetown, June 12th, 2020, 144 days before the election, that Biden would win, Trump would refuse to step down, and it would lead to deadly violence and chaos in America. Hello, the staged Capitol insurrection, led by a bunch of government informants. Again, all of these things are Jesuit rituals. Every last action that's ruining this nation, that's taking away its rights and liberties, that's dividing people, that's keeping them fighting over their stage candidates, it's all Jesuit. Jesuit, Jesuit, Jesuit. And you could also say it's Masonic, but again, the Jesuits are the parents of modern Freemasonry. So let's go over how perfect the ritual is in California, where they have the Jesuit governor, Gavin Newsom, who speaks in numbers. And actually, just to remind you, last year, February 18th, 2022, Gavin Newsom gave his gun control speech saying there'd be major gun reform coming to the state of California, just like Jesuit Biden said the same thing when he became president. But if you go back and watch Gavin Newsom's speech from February 18th, by the way, that was the 49th day of the year, and gun control equals 49. So does Dallas, so does America, so does NFL. But if you go back and watch that speech, Gavin Newsom pokes fun at Texas and says we don't want to be like Texas with all of their mass shootings. So what was going on yesterday on 122, the day of this big news story out of California? Was it not the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers? I'll show you how perfect it all is. We'll get to how it's the 103rd NFL season and the mass shooting came 103 days after Gavin Newsom's birthday, and Dak Prescott stayed on 103 career games, losing to the 49ers in his 103rd game in the 103rd NFL season, which we were all over. Sorry to all the Cowboys fans. Learn your gematria. You'll see the conclusion before the game's over. But anyhow. Again, here it is right here, you guys. 10:22 p.m. shooting at 122 Garvey Avenue, becomes the 122 News, and then late in the day they blame it on Grandpa. They said 10 dead, 10 injured initially. I don't know if they've changed it since, but 10 dead, 10 injured in a shooting just after 10 p.m. to go with your governor born on 10/10, Gavin Newsom. He's 55 years old right now. 55 is the 10th triangular number, kind of like how the Bengals got their 10th straight win yesterday in their 55th season. Winning streak started on November 6th, the day leaving 55 days left in the year. 49ers equals 55. They got to 5-5. ATS stat yesterday covering the spread. But anyway, 103 days after Gavin Newsom's birthday, in Gematria, if you just use the alphabetic order, A is 1 up to Z is 26. J would be the 10th letter, E the 5th, S the 19th, U the 21st. If you add up the letters, Jesuits 103. If you use numerology, Jesuits instead of equaling 103 equals 22. Big news on the 22nd. Again, if you're not familiar with numerology, J is the 10th letter of the alphabetic order. A is the first, B is the second, C is the third, J is the 10th. The numerology of 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. So J becomes 1. E becomes 5 because it's the 5th letter. S, the 19th letter, is 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. So S is 1. So on. You just make each letter a single-digit number. Jesuits 22. What's interesting is when you write out the date January 22nd, it equals 103. And notice this was the graphic they showed you all day yesterday. Happy Year of the Rabbit. First day of it was January 22nd, 103. Again, China, strictest gun control laws in the world. The Jesuits have been in China for longer than the Jesuits have been in China for longer than the United States of America's existed. And the Jesuits were credited in the 16th century to counter the 95 Theses, the thing that was causing a lot of Europeans to flee Catholic-controlled Europe for America. But the date 122, the Jesuit motto, Isus hominum salvator, equals 122. Again, we're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, who's the 266th Pope. That's why when he spoke in D.C. September 23rd, 2015, it was the 266th day of the year. But notice, if you run the alphabetic order in reverse and run it in reverse numerology, Jesus Omnum Salvator is 266 and 122. This is making Z1 back to A is 26, and that order with numerology. Pope Francis, with the alphabetic order, is 122 like San Francisco, where Gavin Newsom hails from, the team that won the game in California the day of this news. San Francisco is also on the 122nd meridian. And by the way, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, satanic equals 122, like how the Satanic Church was founded in San Francisco in 66. But just think about it. Jesuit motto, Jesus Omnum Salvator, 122. First Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, 122. The 266th Pope, named after St. Francis of Assisi, just like San Francisco is named after St. Francis of Assisi. And again, San Francisco is so 122, it's even on the 122nd meridian. By the way, yesterday was the anniversary of Super Bowl 23 where the 49ers beat the Bengals. 49ers and Bengals both advanced in the playoffs yesterday. They did the same thing last year. Last year, the 49ers and Bengals both played on January 22nd in the playoffs and both advanced. Talking about the same thing a year ago as we were this year. The rituals, so repetitive. So Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope, born December 17th, the shooting came January 21st, 35 days after his birthday. And in Gematria, China equals 35. At the same time, so does Jesuitism, Catholic, and Holy See. And don't forget the word I also equals 35, like the eye on your face. And if you've never thought about it before, the I for EYE, there's 3 letters in the word. We have 3 eyes, 2 on our face and 1 in our mind's eye. And the letters that make up the word I. E's the 5th letter, Y's the 25th letter, E's the 5th. The square root of 25 is 5, and 5 is the 3rd prime number. So all of those numbers factor back to 3, the letters in I. And again, Genesis 3:5 is about the eyes of God and knowing good and evil. And think about what the Jesuits do each day. They conduct evil, but you can tell they do it in a sense that they think is right. Like they think the world would be a safer place if only the authorities had weapons. They're fulfilling their moral values, what gives them more power and control. They think they're the right order. They have the right religion. Everybody should be under their guidance, under their control, under their leadership. And they're going to trick the American people more and more into giving up their own power, their own rights, to be led about by this Catholic order. And again, you guys, I should also add to that list, in that same cipher where all these things are 35, so is the word Europe. And again, the Catholic Church was the governing force of Europe when, again, for all you guys who don't know the history, go back to the 16th century. The Jesuits were created, the Gregorian calendar that we're now on, which is named after a Catholic pope, was established. English was standardized with the 26-letter alphabet, and all the vowels were shifted. Essentially, the whole English language was recreated in the 16th century. And it's very clear that the Jesuits did all of it because it's all perfectly synced up. And again, that's why day after day, everything lines up in accordance. Read Genesis 3:5. Okay, so just more clear clues that it's the Jesuits. Again, Jesuit order, strong numbers with the order, 144-72. President Biden equals 144 and 72. Again, Jesuit Georgetown simulated the election 144 days prior, saying he would win. But again, JFK, the last Catholic president before Biden, met with the Pope on 7/2, died a span of 144 days later in Dealey Plaza, named after a Mason. Died on Interstate 35 as number 35. Catholic equals 35 forwards, 46 in reverse. Joe Biden elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, inaugurated on the Pope's 35th day of his age. Anyhow, the sheriff who gave us all the news, including the 72-year-old shooter, Robert Luna, 144. The new representative in that area, the first openly homosexual Asian politician who just took office, Rep. Mark Takano, who came out and spoke. Look at how his title is. Rep. Mark Takano, 144-54, just like Jesuit order, 144-54. And from his birthday, December 10th, to the shooting on January 21st, 42 days later, Jesuit 42. In that same cipher, Georgetown's 42. The word Freemason's also 42. Again, modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit construct. It's all biblical, like how the New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. New Testament equals 42. So does the word new alone. This happens on the new year. And who did they say was the shooter? Again, 72-year-old Hu Kin Tran. Hu Kin Tran. What's his name equal in the most simple cipher? 121? What was the date of the shooting? 121? Again, that's what they do day after day. That day had numerology as 65. They said the hero was Brandon Say. His name matches up with the date numerology as well. And from Gavin Newsom's gun control speech, February 18th, 2022, where he pointed out Texas, only for this to be the big news story of the day of San Francisco versus Dallas Cowboys. And again, like we're showing year after year, news and sports all sync together. 337 days from the shooting, from the gun control speech to the shooting. 337 is the 68th prime number. Lunar New Year, 68. Catholicism, 68. Solar system, 68. Mathematics, 68. If you're new here, we talk about how important 68 is to these rituals again and again. 1968, very infamous year, the year fentanyl was approved by the FDA, the year coronavirus was coined, the year 911 became the national emergency dialing code, the year World Trade Center construction began in New York, and the list goes on. But think about it, 9/11, New York, World Trade Centers, then we go into Afghanistan and kill the Taliban, and then the Taliban had got rid of all the poppy production. Then we send over U.S. soldiers to bring about poppy production and guard the fields. And the next thing you know, there's a heroin, opioid, fentanyl epidemic in the world. And all these things go back to 68, the same year the Club of Rome was established. Same year George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones, a secret society modeled after the Illuminati, which was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, but also the Knights Templar, who are the old military order of the Catholic Church. And again, the Templar cross and the Jesuit logo. But 337 days later, the 68th prime number. It's kind of like how Albert Pike wrote his letter about 3 world wars on the 337th birthday of the Jesuit order, and how every world war has began on 68 date numerology, and the Second World War began 68 years after he wrote the letter. August 15th, 1871. August 15th is the day the Jesuits were born in France. But just the same combinations over and over. And by the way, Sun Tzu, Art of War, the Chinese war general that there's no proof ever existed. The only reason we know of Sun Tzu and his book Art of War is because of the Jesuit priest, Father Amiot, who translated it. Again, the Jesuit logo is the sun, just like how the Sun cult has now crashed the lunar party. But Sun Tzu, the Jesuit logo, the sun, the longest chapter in Art of War is 68 paragraphs. It's chapter 11 called The 9 Situations. Think about that. Chapter 11, The 9 Situations. Does that remind you of the date September 11th? 1968, when World Trade Center construction began and 911 was made the emergency dialing code, and the New York Jets had their only Super Bowl winning season. Then after 9/11, the Patriot Act happens and the Patriots win their first ever Super Bowl. Again, you guys, the mockery is clear. Crystal clear. But again, in light of this happening 103 days after Gavin Newsom's birthday, huge number with the Jesuits, in the 103rd NFL season, Dak Prescott played in his 103rd game yesterday and lost. And also interesting, the leader of China, again, it's the New World Order, you guys. For all of you who don't think the U.S., Russia, China are all allied together at the top, you don't know what's going on. They're all New World Order forces. Again, they're all trade partners. They all work together. They all cause chaos together to shift the world. 220 days from Xi Jinping's birthday, Chinese Lunar New Year is 220, right? Paying big tribute to the Chinese Lunar New Year, and again, synced up with Gavin Newsom, the Jesuit. Again, the Jesuits have been in China longer than America's existed. Gun control's on everyone's mind, and here's the nation with the strictest gun control in the world, China, where only authorities can have guns. Police, military, government officials. That's it. Exactly what channels like CNN have been advocating for. Anderson Cooper, he wants you to be a guinea pig for Big Pharma. He wants you to give up your rights and liberties. Anderson Cooper's on the record saying if you're not doing those things, you're not a real man. And he's a guy who likes to get plugged in his ass. Just like Rep. Mark Takano, who they had out there. Rep. Mark Takano, he's going to be telling you you're not a real man if you don't give up your guns. Also likes to get plugged in his ass. Brand new, just in time for the ritual. Read his bio, you guys. He spent 23 years as an English teacher, only to enter Congress in the year 23. Yeah, it's sickening. And you guys, just think about the whole plugged in the ass thing, too. Who made that popular? Was that not the Catholic Church? Again, that's what happens to a lot of boys when they get raped as children. They end up doing it to other people. They end up becoming sexual predators. They get used to getting plugged in the ass, so it becomes normal. Catholic Church spreading its way in more ways than one. Remember Gavin Newsom told everybody to stay at home. Stay at home, said Gavin Newsom, while he's out with his buddies at the French Laundry. And nobody got the joke, because again, he's a Jesuit. Where are the Jesuits from? France. You want to know how watch this too. Let me show you one other thing about how perfect this is. Gavin Newsom's going to turn 56 years old on October 10th this year. So let's project to his future birthday. From the date of the shooting to his upcoming birthday, you could say that's 262 days later, or you could count the total span of days. From the day of the shooting to his upcoming birthday is a total span of 263 days. And, in California with the politicians, you got Nancy Pelosi, whose birthday is 26/3, the 26th day of March, 263. That's the 56th prime number. And let me show you something about old Nancy, who's a good Catholic, and Gavin Newsom in 56, and why this number matters. Of course, Gavin Newsom, when he locked down California, said 56% of California will get coronavirus in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. But notice Nancy Pelosi in Gematria, her name has the 56, also the 52 and 133. Notice how government is 133 and 52. Washington, D.C. is 56. Society of Jesus is 56. So is coronavirus. Let me spell it right. Coronavirus, COVID vaccine, another Jesuit, Anthony Fauci. Again, the pandemic declared 56 years after Trump's Jesuit education began. He went to Fordham like Cuomo, who was the 56th governor of New York, and so on. But also Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, 56. And you see how Gavin Newsom's got the 142, 155, 56? Again, first governor to lock down his state for coronavirus. Look at coronavirus again. 142, 155, 56. And remember, Jesuit Trump, what day did he declare Operation Warp Speed? May 15th, 15/5 on the 2-year anniversary of Claydex, the first coronavirus simulation, which was exactly 666 days before the pandemic was declared, which is a Christian joke, Christianity 155. Again, you guys, so many rituals with all these numbers. Also, the day Trump declared Operation Warp Speed, it was the day that the Romans celebrated Mercury, the planet Mercury, the trickster in astrology. And of course, Mercury and jabs, well, there's a big debate out there that Google won't let anybody have. If you want to have that debate, you'll get taken down for medical misinformation. And who runs Jesuit Google? Well, I just answered the question. The Jesuits do. That's why Google celebrates their birthday on September 27th, the day in history the Jesuits were recognized by Rome, the day leaving 95 days left in the year, like their original purpose was to counter the 95 Theses. Like how on the last day of the last year, the 95-year-old German Pope died in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, which is funny because Martin Luther, the German, wrote the 95 Theses, which brought about the Jesuits, which reminds that MLK was killed on the 95th day of 68. Martin Luther King Jr., who assumed the name Martin Luther after the Protestant Reformation leader. Okay, let me put my eyes on the chat. Is there anything I'm missing with this shooting? Does anybody else have any additional information? Black Sun has the overlap with government. That's interesting. Okay. Does anyone in the chat have anything I need to know about this shooting that I'm missing? Errol Barrow Day. Have no idea what that is. Doesn't sound related to the shooting, though. Here, we can take a look at how all the different networks cover it. CNN top story, what we know about the 72-year-old suspect in the Monterey Park massacre. You know what? Since they keep saying that phrase over and over this morning, actually, there are a few things that I could have also covered before they put out the 72-year-old shooter. Here was my initial post yesterday morning on this. Again, we talk about why so many mass shootings happen on Saturdays for people who are new here. We say that's the favorite day of the week for the state-sponsored mass shooting. You see how Saturday's got the 109 and 107? Same with shooting. Again, fits in with military as well. A lot of these are military operations. There is a psychological operations division to the U.S. military, and that's what these are. But Saturday shooting, it was on the 21st, and again, that's a big Jesuit number as well. Blood sacrifice, 121 if people really were killed, hard to say. As per usual, they're not showing us anything that shows us that anything really happened. The date can be written 21/1, like 211. That's the 47th prime number. Big number with the government. Government 47. Authority 47, when spelled correctly. Republican 47. Democrat 47. The letters DC in reverse are 47. White House is 47. President is 47. Right now, again, we got Biden, who was the VP to he was the 47th vice president who took office with the 47-year-old Obama. Then he replaced Trump, who's Mr. 47, who said he'd done more in 47 months than Biden had done in 47 years. But yeah, just huge government number. Also a big number with the Vatican. Vatican 47. The Vatican was established in history on February 11th, which can be written 211, the 47th prime. That's also the 42nd day of the year, Jesuit 42. That was thanks to Mussolini, who was a Jesuit. Year of the rabbit in Gematria equals active shooter equals holiday equals killing. 74, huge pattern. Monterey Park, also where this happened. 163 in the Gematria, which is the 38th prime number. And again, words like death, murder, killing, RIP, they're all 38. So 163, the 38th prime, fateful pattern. And then it just being covered the day after, January 22nd. That was a date with 66 numerology. Big mass shooting number. Mass shootings got the 66. So just some of the things about the location, in addition to all of the Jesuit fingerprints all over the whole thing. And yeah, if you're new here, I'd encourage you to go watch the video I put out a few nights ago, January 20th. In the thumbnail, you'll see coronavirus, George Floyd, the Capitol insurrection, what Janet Yellen said that day about a financial collapse by June. And again, you'll learn a lot more about these Jesuits and all the things they've been instigating by the numbers with the same repetitive patterns over and over. So all right, but that's how CNN's covering the news this morning. Let's see Fox. Fox isn't so big on the mass shootings. So Fox is more focused on the ongoing psychological operations with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, which also have the Jesuit fingerprints all over them, as we've been documenting. Again, pretty much everything in the mainstream that controls people's minds is a Jesuit operation. Mike McCarthy, little theatrics, little WWE after the planned loss in the scripted NFL. Isn't it amazing how obvious everything is? How BS the news is, how scripted the sports are, and the average American person just can't wrap their mind around it. Here's a guy who gets it. What's up, Jim? Right now on the Monterey Park shooting.
Yep, I'm watching. That's why I'm calling. I'm about ready to take 3 guitars out to Jeff Beck's guitar tech.
R.I.P. to Jeff Beck, who just went out in a big Jesuit ritual.
Yeah. He's all the way out in El Segundo, so I don't read right.
Okay.
She's like a science nerd, so she's not. And she just got called out the other morning to something else. And she was on call. So I have sometimes, I know she's getting called out to stuff, but like we talked about before, if they got called out to something, they'd arrive long after something was set up or executed. If you pardon the pun.
Sure.
But yesterday, and I've been trying to reconcile, what we're exposing and what she's doing for a living.
Sure.
And I kind of got a big clue on it yesterday because I woke up and she was watching that. She was, fixed to the screen in the kitchen because she said she knows some of the sheriffs. But before she mentioned that, I said, some of your friends going to be out there? She goes, no, we won't be called out to this. That's the sheriffs, like the people above the next level up. So it seems like the low level, maybe police and some of these people doing this don't even ever get near any of this stuff.
Sure. It's just like when I went to the site of the shooting last year in Washington State. All the city police had to wait outside while the feds were inside the scene. I got
That's
that.
what I was going to mention. I was going to bring your experience up to compare. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For anybody, it's on my BitChute channel. If you guys are familiar with the website BitChute, go to BitChute and search GematriaEffectNews and scroll back to February of last year. It used to be on YouTube, but they took it down for medical misinformation. Again, I got the police chief, who was the guy on TV talking about the mass shooting out here, to admit that he wasn't even allowed to go in. He was getting all the information through his cell phone. So I said, and you could tell that he sort of appreciated what I do. He goes, I know why you're out here questioning this stuff. I was like, yeah. So again, the guy who's on TV telling everybody what happened wasn't even allowed to see the crime scene with his own eyes. And you can go watch that. He says it right on camera. Commander Chris Lee. However, I could never get him to follow up with me, so I've reached out to him about 5 different times. He never responded, but I'm also realizing one more 122. It was the Torrance police on the scene, and guess what Torrance equals? 122. How about that? So does your lady have any more information?
No, she hasn't. I'll ask her today. I would have some possible update tonight. I'll ask her what she's learned today.
Okay.
When she comes home, I'll say, hey, do you learn anything about that? They wanted to buzzkill their little celebration there.
Yeah. Doesn't it make sense? The sun cult kills the Lunar New Year celebration. It's just like, it's so symbolic.
Totally buzzkilled it, just like they did on New Year's Eve with the rain. Remember
Yeah.
I was telling you that? Because we were watching the national and local televised.
Right.
It's hilarious because, there's these stages where bands were supposed to play. It was supposed to be a huge event. And it shows like 3-4 forlorn folks out there dancing to like some piped in music through the PA because the whole thing got rained out. It was just pathetic. They don't want people having any fun in 2023.
Yeah, they got to get you ready for meta. So
yeah, the Kings of Thrash are out to put a snafu in their plan.
There you go.
We hit the road here in a few weeks on the Thrash and USA tour. Hope all our truth seekers are getting tickets. I'll drop the link where you can get tickets all in one link. People come out and see the spectacle.
Indeed.
And have my back in the process.
Indeed.
bring me some unsealed beverages, or
Right.
or should I say some sealed beverages that haven't been opened or tampered with.
Sure. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. Again, first show, February 16th. So.
A magical day, to be sure. And Juliet. Yeah, there we are. That latest video, folks, if you take a look at that, you'll see some definite shredding going down. I got to tell you what happened in Arizona when you see that video. So, because what you're going to do when the grid goes down, album covers, isn't that based in Arizona, right?
Right.
All right, so the video, that particular performance that we used in that video was in Arizona and Phoenix, right? I've played a lot of venues, from arenas to clubs to chicken shacks. I've never had a grounding issue like what the three of our guitars had in that venue. When we walked in for sound check, I played like first chord. The second you stopped, remember that song Mexican Radio?
Uh-huh.
Instantly, and so much interference. There's so much, I could feel it, like the RF and the energy and the static. It was horrible. I looked down at the young monitor guy next to me on the side of the stage, and I said, "What's doing with this noise?" And he said, "Oh, it usually goes away by showtime." And
Sure.
I said, usually? Because we have a lot of stops and starts and rest in our music and syncopation, so you can't be stopping suddenly and then, hearing some bizarre feed, RF or Mexican radio playing through your amp, right? Another guy came up and said, when Eric Johnson played there, he was literally down on his knees, putting Reynolds wrap from his pedals that connected the cables that connected each pedal, and putting Reynolds wrap over his amps. And that's what we literally did with my gear that day.
Huh.
If you can imagine.
Sure.
If we have any Arizona listeners, maybe you can chime in on that.
Funny. Huh.
Yeah, it's a strange energy there in that state. Although I love if you travel through there, the geography of it and how it looks is so beautiful.
Yeah, like Sedona.
Yeah. Sedona's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's amazing. I've played there, yeah. Highly recommended.
Yeah, when people think of Arizona, they've never been there, they just think of desert, but it's got all sorts of different terrain. I mean, if you drive from the north to the south of that state, and the Grand Canyon's in that state, I mean, it's got a lot of beautiful sights, for sure.
No, and if you're talking about, with what we talk about in gematria and spelling and spell casting and the frequency and energy of words and the vibration of, sounds and music, Sedona has the highest magnetic content. It's like a vortex, right?
Right.
If you go out into there's different vortexes you can go and visit there, and you feel the energy. Like when you go to this place, you can feel it buzzing, right? And when you go to Sedona, magical stuff, it always happens. It happened to me in a Cracker Barrel when I was on a payphone. We went hiking and we approached, and there's this old guy. He was super handsome, looked kind of Native American, playing a wood flute up on top of this mountain, and you could hear him all over the valley. Highly recommend it if you want to feel energy, knowing the power that is percolating in this country. Another crazy place geographically in America is Sarasota in Florida.
Uh-huh.
I used to live there. It always gets voted best beach in America. Not the other beaches in Sarasota. It's a specific beach. You could Google and look at it's called Siesta Key. And it has sand like no other sand. I've toured the world. I've been in Australia, New Zealand, Greece. Strange thing about when you go in they call it the sea over there. It's not sand. It's just like these rocks, like different sized rocks. So you may want to bring your shoes when you're going in the sea in Greece. But Sarasota, that specific beach that has this, the sand is like no other. It's like baby powder. You know, you can stand up and it doesn't stick to you, and the water is turquoise. Oddly enough, it has that specific beach has the highest crystal content in the U.S. I think all that sand is crystal. You think about people who hang crystal on their rear view mirrors and in their windows, and the power that crystal has. Yeah. If you live in that city, and I can vouch because I lived there 4 years, my daughters are there still, it magnifies your life lessons. Like if you live in that city, I had a buddy, he said, if you move here, you're on the path and you've chosen to get your ass kicked. And he did when he lived there. And he lived right out on Siesta Key. His whole house flooded, right? Because you could flood Florida with a good 3 feet of water, right? In the right weather modification exercise, right?
Sure.
So if you go to these places like Sedona, for me, those are probably the 2 most powerful places in the U.S. if you really want to feel the energy of a geographic location. You know, in Sedona, again, because of the magnetic and all the vortexes there, and Sarasota because of the crystal. And it's really Siesta Key, and the closer you get, the closer you live to that place. I got cancer in Sarasota, so I guess I learned a big life lesson down there. And a whole bunch of other ass-kicking excursions that I went through.
Sure.
Before I hightailed it out of there.
Sure.
It's a great place to visit. You know? And Sin City, on the other hand, there's they don't call it that for nothing.
Have you ever met
living in hell on earth?
Have you ever met Maynard James Keenan?
No, and I don't know if you mentioned this enough, but people should look at the cover of his book. Who does he think he is, Napoleon or what? Man, he's got his hand in his jacket.
Yeah, he's in the club. He lives in Sedona. He swears by that place. He's a big-time occultist. For people who don't know who that is, it's the lead singer of Tool. And
I love the band. I love the sound. He's a killer singer.
Yeah.
Is that where he does his wine thing there in Sarasota? That would make sense.
Or in Sedona?
It's a big wine country. I have a gal. She's a truth speaker. She actually was on, her name's Rachel. She's not awake, but she's speaking truth, trying to. She's awake on certain things like a lot of people. But she at least ran away from Hollywood. She had that show, Wildlife Docs. It was like on Animal Planet. But she ran away from Hollywood because she didn't get sucked into that. And she's now in Sedona giving wine tours.
Yeah.
And trying to wake up. She's kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Now there's this book. Check it out.
Yeah, the old hidden hand. Yeah, it's sad. I hate watching people sell out because, I mean, he was a total sellout during the pandemic and everything, and in the early 90s, you could have never imagined it, but here we are in the 2020s, and he's in the club, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, it's too bad. So.
Well, I'll let you guys get back to it. I just wanted to call in and mention that once I started seeing the numbers, when you started decoding the event there, or should I say out here in LA, I was beside myself with the Gematria.
Yeah, perfect ritual.
Mm-hmm. So we're trying to get up over 1,000 people on our new channel here. We made some serious momentum this weekend. I made a post on my wall and that helped. So if you guys could go give us a sub, we'd appreciate it.
Indeed. Here, I'll put the link in the chat.
A lot of the lyrics we'll be spitting out on the tour got some truth in it somehow. It's like The Matrix, that first movie. I'm not even sure. Because you know those directors, don't they? The ones that turned tranny, did The Matrix.
All right, they're the sisters now.
Yeah. So goofy. I'm not sure they're even aware of all the truth that is embedded in that first movie, not any of the other Matrix, but just the first one, right? Then it became about marketing merch and Neo dolls and Burger King cups with the Matrix imagery on it.
Sure. Yeah.
But you see how in movies like The Matrix and even Fight Club, it's got being John Malkovich, there's so many movies that it's just the truth is embedded in there. And I think in Megadeth lyrics, I think it's in spite of the artists sometimes. They just think they're writing something cool and the universe is like channeling something to them or through them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something to think about.
Indeed.
What a strange trip it's been, but we'll see you cats out on the road. We're gearing up, getting ready. I got to hit the road myself for this drive in LA traffic on the 405.
Oh, yeah, that's always fun.
They named it that because once you're trapped and stuck on that freeway, you're going 4 or 5 miles an hour the entire time.
Indeed. Yeah.
And if you're going like from LA to San Diego, good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's a bummer for two of the Kings of Thrash live like Costa Mesa down towards San Diego, the drummer and singer guitar player. And we rehearse up here in LA, so they got to drive that every time back and forth.
Yeah.
I pity the fool.
Indeed. All right, Jeff. Well, safe travels, and thanks for hopping on. And yeah, if your sweet lady gets any good information, pass along, please.
Well, that was a revelation for me, and and that's how it happened. We'll just say one sentence, and it kind of puts everything in perspective. Because that means like her team and their level of that, LAPD would never get called out to something like this. That was enlightening.
Yeah, true.
And with that, I'm off.
All right, Jeff.
It's a fine day.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff. Take care.
You coming to one of the gigs? Come on, man.
I definitely want to, and then I'm thinking about that last one for the final show in Atlanta. I've been wanting to head out to Atlanta anyhow, so.
Yeah, that's the one on the Ides of March is our last gig. That's when we need reinforcements, right?
Indeed.
Isn't that a day for retribution?
It's a day I've had a lot of bad things happen to me in history too, so yeah, good day to look out for.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, Jeff. Appreciate it, man.
Isn't that a bummer? You got to go out and play a show with that on your mind.
Yeah, try to keep that out of your mind. So.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Ciao, people.
Later. All right. They gave us the names of the first victims. How about it? America's gun problem in graphs. Notice how it starts in the year 68. And did you guys notice that on the front page of MSNBC, their story's 337 long? Isn't that interesting? Again, you learn this knowledge, you start to realize how perfect everything is. We've been talking about this forever. Timestamps on videos, just like how the shooting came 337 days after his gun control speech, saying gun control's coming to America as he singles out Texas. And then it's the story of the day of the 49ers-Texas football game. It's just, again, and, people be like, oh, yeah, it's just a coincidence. Okay, pay attention as they do it year after year. So, anyhow, let's look at what they got. Then they got to go back to the year 68. Remember, that was the year of the first major gun control legislation. For the record, from the date MLK was assassinated to the first major gun control legislation in 68, was 201 days later. If you write out the Jesuit order, it's 201. Last year, you had the April 3rd shooting next to the King's Arena, right where all the government buildings are, and they said it happened at 2:01 a.m. Again, the Jesuit order, 2:01. Huge number with the Jesuits. Event 2:01 was the coronavirus pandemic simulation. Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, 2:01. Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the name of the first Jesuit pope, 2:01. Who's the first to live in suite, 2:01. That's Pope Francis. But anyway, 2:01 was all over the MLK and gun control way back in 68. Nothing's changed. There were 1.5 million of them between 68 and 2017. We don't even need to ask why they chose that year to start. That's higher than the number of soldiers killed in every U.S. conflict since the American War of Independence in 1775. In 2020 alone, more than 45,000 Americans died at the end of a barrel. Hold on. Truth Does Not Exist is calling in. Let's see what he's got. What's going on, Truth Does Not Exist? Huh?
Who can trend? You can trend. Who can trend? You can trend. I noticed that there was something from the story that you saw. There was something you missed. So the place that it was at, the hotel, Yakima is 44 and 64.
Okay, so like kill, 44, 64, shooting, 44.
Yeah, the same number. I had to call in with that. It's spelled Y-A-A-M-A-V-A.
Y-A-A-N-A-V-A?
Yeah, Y-A-A-M-A-V-A.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that deal. Yamava. Okay.
Yeah, we gotta get you on the scene at all these shootings. That would be cool. So that way, just like with the Fort Myers thing, I was rewatching that, and it's like nobody knows anything. Everybody gets their information from across the country through the phone. You know, there's no evidence of anything. We should get you like a camera with like those like fancy zoom lenses, and a drone, so that way you can like see like into the building. Sure.
The other thing, besides the 64 and 44 coded in the resort, also 19, and we know that's the chaos number. And yesterday the 49ers won 19-12 over Dallas, and they tied Dallas 19-19 all-time in head-to-head games and won their 12th straight game. So what a score, 19-12, in light of the big numbers on the game. But yeah, 19's the chaos number. That's why you had COVID-19 19 years after the 9/11 hijackers.
And they just had 44-64 like they always do.
Yeah, good catch. I missed the resort. They mostly were focused on the name of the dance ballroom, which is 144. Okay.
I know that I had commented this before, but this is with the Alec Baldwin thing, since this is also a shooting. But I wanted you to show it on the screen, because then, you know, people can really see the point. But, you know, look up blank rounds, which is what they shoot in movies and stuff. And then look up, like, live rounds. I mean, everybody knows what those look like. But they look completely differently, and it wouldn't, like, that wouldn't just end up in there. That doesn't make any sense, you know? Like that's not just going to appear in there, you know? The person loading it is going to, like, you would never mix them up. One would never end up in the other. It's like getting a yeah, look at that. It's like all crimped. There's no bullet, you know, at the end. There's no copper bullet at the end. They're smaller. So, you know, it's like buying a carton of eggs at the store, and then one of the eggs is just a potato, and then you just don't notice, you know, and like it doesn't, that like one is not gonna get in there. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, they're all, like, crimped. They're a completely different color. They're smaller. You know, it's like, you're really going to tell me that that somebody didn't notice that, you know? And maybe what they did is, you know, if this was supposedly real, but, I mean, who knows? Maybe that lady's just off in, you know, Celebrity Island with all the other people. But, you know, maybe who was it that loaded the gun that they put that bullet in there, you know?
All right. Indeed. And again, for people who missed the whole Alec Baldwin thing, that was 201 days after his birthday. The Ukrainian woman right before Russia-Ukraine in the big 201 Jesuit ritual. And again, they compared it to the death of Brandon Lee on the set of The Crow, but they didn't point out that Brandon Lee was buried on Alec Baldwin's 35th birthday. And again, 35, Catholic, Holy See. Brandon Lee's character in The Crow is Eric, which equals 35 as well. It's all ritual. It's all the same numbers over and over. So anyway, appreciate the observations. Thank you.
Okay, see you, man.
All right, take care. I'm going to have to look more into what he's saying, because it doesn't look like there's any headlines about this resort in relation to the Monterey Park shooting. So Yeah. Yeah, I think he might have made a mistake there, but that's okay. Where was I? I was talking about this, why they're going back to 68 to talk about gun control. It's just, isn't it just so annoying, you guys? And just the fact that people just won't pull their head out of their ass and they think we're all a bunch of crazy, kooky psychopaths who are too into numbers and they just keep doing the same shit every single day. Here, truth does not exist is calling back. Maybe he wants to clarify his point. Okay, what is it?
So I know what you said that you couldn't find it. Go into the CNN headline and then scroll down, and you'll see that it's on the banner. The first one is the CNN headline. If you scroll down, the one with the cops under the big banner, you'll see on the banner it says Yakima.
Okay, all right, I'll find it. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
All right, thanks. You know what else? You know what else is funny about them going from 68 to 2017? It's 49 years later, right? And remember, like I said, he gave his gun control speech on the 49th day of the year. Also, if you count 68 to 2017, it is 49 years later, but it's also a total span of 50 years. And gun control's 50 when you run it in reverse. Again, you guys, it's all so perfect. 337 days after his gun control speech on the 49th day of the year. You know, the 68th prime is just, these people. It would be their undoing what they do if people were smart enough to see through it. And that's the real problem in this country. The real problem isn't really, I mean, the Jesuits are a problem that rule over us, but none of their tricks would work if the population wasn't so dumb. The real problem is how dumb people are. And then, I mean, you even start looking at people in this community. They find the knowledge, they want to start making videos, and then they want to upload videos saying that it's not the Jesuits, it's just the way the universe works. Oh yeah, I'm sure this is all just the universe. I mean, why even write from 68 to 2017 and 2023? Everything they do is speaking in code. So, this is an article they're promoting today. This is up at the top of their page today. See, going after America. Look how bad it is in America. An international comparison of gun-related killings. U.S. 79%. Are these stats even real? 79% of all killings in the U.S. are gun homicides? Looks like it came right out of the same old Jesuit text, Society of Jesus 79. Notice how it's 187 like the homicide code. For the record, murder's also 79. Everyone's favorite killer, O.J., born on 7/9. Nobody noticed what they just did with Lisa Marie Presley. 187 days after Tom Hanks' 7/9 birthday. They had to report that she was hospitalized at 11/17, the 187th prime. Just had a panel of morons laughing at what I was saying about 11/17 and 187 in light of 3 people dying by that code again on November 17th, and then they do it to Lisa Marie Presley. They got to hospitalize her at 11/17, and look how her name is 187/79. Tom Hanks born on 7/9, dead 187 days after his birthday. Right after the Elvis Golden Globes. See how Golden Globes is 54? Jesuit Order 54. Elvis recorded for Sun Records 54, his first concert in 54. She dies 2 days after the Golden Globes, where the Elvis actor wins top honors and Tom Hanks is the big star in the movie. Tom Hanks born in 56, Elvis's breakout year. Elvis dead at 42, Jesuit 42. Got the polio vaccine on Jonas Salk's 42nd birthday. Jonas Salk's 42nd birthday and Bill Gates' first birthday. Jesuits 42 like vaccine. Here, you know what? Just talking about the Jesuits and their dirty rituals and their same numbers over and over. Remember where they first tested the polio vaccine? They did it on the 54th day of 54. The 54th day of 54 at Arsenal Elementary, reminding you how tied the military is to the world of Jesuit medicine in light of the Jesuits being a military order. But Jesuit Order 54, Arsenal Elementary School, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where it was at, 201, event 201. The Event 201 coronavirus pandemic simulation was on the same day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China. And those military World Games are credited to the Jesuit order. That's why they began in 95 in Italy. But just look at it all, you guys. That day was 119 days after Jonas Salk's birthday. This stuff just makes me so sick because I just remember being in slave school and learning things like Jonas Salk was probably the greatest man to have ever lived. He was another one of these Ashkenazis. Remember, the Jesuits are a Catholic-Jewish alliance, like Newsom. But, yeah, just look at it. Same thing's been going on the whole time, you guys. Vaccines for everyone. By the way, the first ever vaccine mandate also came from the Catholic Church. Go figure. Go figure. Jonas Salk died in a big old Jesuit ritual. The hospital near that Arsenal Elementary School is at 201 State Street. Yeah, it's just maddening. It's just maddening that people can't figure out what's going on. So, Who Can Tran? Didn't you watch the news? It was a 72-year-old grandpa named Who Can Tran. Not the Jesuits. It was a 72-year-old grandpa. Robert Luna told us they had to cancel the Lunar New Year celebration. It's just a coincidence that it was at 122 Garvey at 1022 and 122. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. That's just a coincidence. Saying that means something means you're schizophrenic. This is the shit I've been listening to for 20 years in a society of morons. 9/11, impossible. The official story, completely impossible. The new Pearl Harbor, they call it, is buildings 1, 2, and 7 fall down. What's Pearl Harbor Day? December 7th. 1, 2, 7. Sure it was a coincidence. 2 big towers became 0 before it became 1. 201. 102 days after the 9/11 simulation called Amalgam Virgo, only for them to come down in the time of Virgo. Okay, but yeah, we hit it all. If you guys got here late, feel free to rewind. Just got to get my morning rant out, talking about how I live in the same idiotic nation where the same stuff goes on day after day and the same morons continue to deny it. Go back and listen to Gavin Newsom's gun control speech last year. Then you got the Uvalde shooting on the 144th day of the year, right after the Buffalo shooting that came 144 days after the anniversary of the death of Peter Canisius, the Jesuit priest that the Jesuit school's named after, right down the street. Again, for this 144 thing, you guys, just another huge pattern we've been talking about all year. Again, the Buffalo shooting was 144 days after the anniversary of the death of the Jesuit priest Peter Canisius, who the Jesuit school just down the street from that Buffalo Tops on the same Jefferson Street, about a half mile down the street's named after. Then 10 days later on May 24th, the 144th day of the year, you got the Uvalde shooting while they're telling you 19 cops stood down while 19 children were killed. Again, that's the chaos number. It's the 19th. Or the 19th card of the tarot deck's the Sun card. Again, we're talking about the Sun cult. Sun equals 54 like Jesuit order. Jesuit order also 72. Again, the Sun moves 1 degree on the astrological wheel every 72 years. The Sun cult crashes the lunar party and blames it on the 72-year-old grandpa. All right, Truth Seeker, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you to the super chatter who chipped in $5. Do appreciate that. And yeah, just to make sure I'm not missing any more whoppers before I sign off. Again, for all of you guys who are new here and wondering about the whole George Santos thing, again, look up Revelation 3. There's a letter written to the Church of Philadelphia about the synagogue of Satan, those who claim to be Jews but are not. And think about the year 2023, and numerology is pretty much the same as 223. The synagogue of Satan is 223, so is Philadelphia. Letters written to the Church of Philadelphia about the Synagogue of Satan. And again, Philadelphia is 101 and 61, so is church. Philadelphia is also 65, established on the day, leaving 65 days left in the year. And Christianity is 65. The letter to the Church of Philadelphia. For the record, Christianity also has the 79, like Knights Templar, like Society of Jesus. Like how today they're saying 79% of all gun violence in the world's in America, predominantly Christian nation. Everyone's taught to believe, the word with lie right in the middle. Just keep believing the authorities. They got your best interests. Remember, the 3 independent city-states, the Vatican, the Banking District of London, and Washington, D.C. The authorities that control the spirituality, the military, the minds, the money. They just got you believing. Just turn on the screen and listen to the authorities some more. They got your best interests at heart. Don't mind the myocarditis. Don't mind anything they're doing to you. Just keep believing. All right, one more shot at the chat. Anyone in the chat got anything for me that I should know about this this shooting that we haven't already covered? Anything else? Oh, the ritual they did with the pig hearts? Yeah, that was a good one. The God Committee. Here, since it's the same numbers, this goes with your 72-year-old shooter right here. The God Committee. Let me pull up this film Hollywood put out and how they synced it up with supposedly a real news story. So the God Committee comes out, and it's about a doctor who wants to create genetically modified pig parts to transplant into human beings. And the name of the film, The God Committee, equals 72 forwards and backwards. 72 forwards and backwards, like Jesuit order. 72, like your 72-year-old shooter. But from the day that movie came out to the day of the news of the first genetically modified pig heart being implanted in a patient, 201 days later, this happened around the same time that they were talking about the new phantom heart disease that the doctors just can't figure out. The sudden adult death syndrome shortly after Event 201 and the rushed out jabs, where William Henry Gates, Mr. 201, in 2010 said what it was all about. He said, the world's population right now is at 6.8 million, or billion, he said. 6.8 billion, and it's going to go way up, so we got to take everybody out, and we can do it if we do a good job with vaccines. Yeah, go listen to Bill Gates in his 2010 TED Talk. Go listen to him. His full name's William Henry Gates, main co-sponsor of Event 201. See if you can figure out what's going on. And notice who the doctor is. Notice who the doctor is in that movie. Leslie Frazier. Oh, what show was Leslie Frazier in? You know? Was he in the one that was set in Seattle? The land of the world's biggest needle, the Space Needle in King County, where Corona means crown, and then... Let's not forget what we said a long time. I was waiting for the queen to kick the bucket. I said, watch, when she dies, it'll be totally synced up with all the coronavirus stuff. She dies exactly 201 days after her coronavirus diagnosis on the Virgin Mary's birthday. Couldn't get any more Catholic. But Leslie Frazier, it's set in Seattle. So they got the doctor who got famous in the Seattle show, doing this show about the God Committee about transplanting pig hearts. And then, just 201 days later, the first genetically modified pig heart transplanted. And if I remember right, the guy died 38 days later, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe died on the 38th day of the year. The guy who got the pig heart. Or it was actually, I take it back. He died on March 8th, 3/8. Okay, I knew there was a 38th that got in there. He died 60 days later. That day can also be written 8/3. Heart's also 83. Death, murder, killing, RIP got the 38. Murder's got the 38 and 83. And hey, in light of what's talking about a big Jesuit killing ritual, let's never forget that Murder by Numbers, which codes 83 and 38 all over the place, let's never forget that movie came out on April 19th, fateful day in history from the Revolutionary War to Oklahoma City to Waco. but the day in history Ignatius Loyola became the first superior general. Murder by numbers. Add up all the numbers on the poster. 56, orange 7 and 9 around the words, 3, 8 in the letters. Again, murder, death, killing, R.I.P. The song Murder by Numbers in 83. So I'm skipping around all over the place. I'm trying to make you dizzy, but I just want to scroll down to the bottom. Agatha Christie, The ABC Murders. That's her novel. 79 like murder. The ABC Murders, 56 and 79. Amazon, Jesuit-controlled Amazon. Jeff Bezos blasting off on the 201st day of the year in a dick rocket on the anniversary of the moon landing, looking like Dr. Evil. And they had that all synced up with Mike Myers. It was like 56 days from his birthday. But again, you guys, I mean, they're just calling the same stuff everywhere. Add up all the numbers on the screen, 56, right? The shooting in California, 263 days from Gavin Newsom's 56th birthday, 263 the 56th prime, Society of Jesus, controlling Hollywood, controlling your government, controlling your sports leagues. Club. That's all it takes to get a wrench on this channel. Start leaving some good comments, you'll get a wrench. People come here, they're like, why has everyone got a wrench? I just give people wrenches if they leave good comments, and that way they can leave links. CN red flags. Appreciate it. First I read it, I was like, yeah, CNN, that is a red flag. But thank you, CN red flags. I appreciate it. All right, you guys, I'm done. I'm done for now. I'm sure I'll be back later. They'll probably have more news on ABC 123 Day. Hey, just for the record, you know Sundar Pichai, he's the head of Alphabet Company and Google. ABC 123, Sundar Pichai 123, in reverse 201, going with that big Jesuit theme at Google. His name's also 60 and 75. The Jesuits do refer to themselves as the Order. Order's got that 60 and 75, kind of like Mr. Pigheart dying 60 days later. Remember, never forget this one either. Gavin Newsom will appreciate this one. New World Order 75. Catholic Church 75. Oh, that's right. They deleted my post. But I can still look it up anyway. New York Times, October 6th, 1940. New World Order, pledge to Jews. Look it up. Look it up. On the 75 date numerology on the New York Times, New World Order pledged to Jews, says Arthur Greenwood, who ended up dying by the code. But that was October 6, 1940, a date with 75 numerology, 10 plus 6 plus 19 plus 40. And again, the New York Times has always been run by Jesuits, and the Jesuits are a Catholic-Jewish alliance, and that was shortly before the very Jesuit establishment of the State of Israel. That happened a little less than 8 years later. State of Israel 201. David Ben-Gurion declared it a nation and died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. And notice how David Ben-Gurion is 145, just like Catholic is. And Israel was created on 14/5. 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament, which has 46 books in it. That's why there should be zero question who's responsible for English and the calendar and all the rituals. It's clearly the Catholic Church. It's clearly the Jesuit order. It goes on and on and on and on and on. If everyone just took the time to look into what's actually going on in this world, they would see the same things that we're talking about day after day. Problem is, the other half of the world's my sister, and not the other half, more like 90% of the world. My sister, who continues to think that everything's a conspiracy theory. My sister literally thinks Freemasonry is a conspiracy theory. It's just like, how can you be that dumb? It's a real thing. It's in the town you live in. It's in pretty much every town in America. How can it be a conspiracy theory? God. Oh, man. Daria's my e-sister. Thanks again, Daria. I keep asking Daria to stop making donations because she's already donated so much, and she travels out and pounds payment with us in New York and Oklahoma City. She drives from Utah to Oklahoma City as a woman by herself and comes out and pounds payment. She doesn't need to do any more. Daria's in the Truth Seeker Hall of Fame. But truth does not exist. Pulled up the CNN article with the I gotta. I already forget what the name of that place was. It was an unconventional name. Oh, there it is, right there on the banner. Yamava. Yeah, perfect. Yamava. So it looks like Yamava, it's not actually there. They're probably just the sponsor for the celebration, right? That's why they're not coming up in any story. But they're the celebration, the same banner that all the media is using. And yeah, that's definitely not a coincidence, you guys. Again, these numbers get put everywhere. And that 44,125, again, it goes with everything being numerology too, so. But the big 44 is the shooting. And by the way, I guess I'll close out with this. If you are new here, go to my website, GematriaEffect.News. You are welcome to buy my books to support the work. Thank you if you do. You can also buy physical copies of the books. All the links are there. But again, I do encourage everybody to download the books for free. And you know what? If you read them and you find the work is valuable and helpful, maybe go back and buy them later to support it. But yeah, just go to the link where it says download books for free. By the way, this photo right here was me in Washington State at the March for Our Lives rally. You had a bunch of people here who were advocating for why we need to disarm Washington State. Enough is enough. Take away the guns. And, you know, there was some really great rhetoric on the stage, like, if we just had a bunch of Democrats, none of this would happen. And so I heard too much, you know. They mentioned that like 3 or 4 speakers canceled, so I went up to the lady who was in charge, and I said, would it be okay if I spoke on the stage today about what's going on with the mass shootings? And she goes, no. I said, well, you should have some openings. You just announced like 3 or 4 speakers canceled. And she goes, no, we don't want you to speak on the stage. And you know what? Being the great American that I am, I decided if I couldn't speak on the stage, I'd just bust out the old bullhorn and speak over everybody, because my message was more important than everybody else's, and that's not narcissistic, it's just a fact, because you had idiots talking about how if we had Democrats, there wouldn't be any mass shootings. So the first thing I had to remind them is about back in the days of, you know, Bill Clinton and Obama and how many mass shootings there were from Columbine to Sandy Hook. And that got the boos and the outrage. And you can see this Jewish guy right here, his head's about to fall off. He's screaming so hard. But again, you guys, I really wish a lot more of you would support the work and pledge, you know, $1 a month or $2 or whatever you can afford, because if there was the patriots of the nation supporting this, we would have an army of people employed. We'd be out at every event. We'd be traveling there. We'd probably have our own private plane, which literally is what we need. We should be able to get on a private plane and fly to the site of every mass shooting and do what we do, because then the country might actually change. I don't see anybody else in the country who has the balls or the willingness to do what I do each day. And notice, I had a whole crowd there roaring at me. I was cool as a cucumber. I wasn't worried about one person in that crowd. And again, this is what needs to happen. At every one of these stupid rallies, it needs to be broken up and busted up. If only we had Democrats, then there'd be no shootings. I mean, are you serious? Like, are you hearing yourself? And understand, I'm not some Republican. I don't believe in either political party. It's just like all the people that think Trump's the hero. If Trump was in, the country'd be so much. It's like, if the country'd be better if Trump was in. Trump ushered in more fascism, more loss of rights and liberties than we've ever seen. He was the worst president in the history of the United States. The country's been more free under Joe Biden, and that's saying a lot because it's almost as bad. But understand, they're both from the same Jesuit faction playing their part. And understand, I also went to a rally in Washington, and of course it was the QAnon rally. And I went there to talk some sense to the QAnon people about how Trump is an agent, he's no hero. By the way, QAnon's 201 in Jewish Gematria. But if you guys missed what happened there, you know, they said it was an open mic, open stage, and I went up to the stage. I was going to wait my turn to get on the stage and speak and wake these people up to the puppet Trump. And you know what happened? These guys that were like bodyguards, big guys that were all strapped with guns, they came up and they said, "You're not getting on this stage." And I said, "Why can't I get on the stage? I thought it was open mic." They said, "Yeah, but not for you." And I said, "Well, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?" They knew what I'd been doing. I'd been at the rally was going on for like 3 hours earlier, and I'd gotten a big crowd of people to come listen to me. And then they had some little tool come up, and he started talking some shit, and I called him a an FAGGOT. And you should have seen this. Supposedly this crowd of conservatives, oh, they all melted down. Oh, I'm not listening to you anymore, you bigoted hate speaker. I was like, oh my God, I'm from the 90s, man. Back in the day, that's what we used when a guy like this came up and started talking some shit. But everybody's so fake. Both political parties are full of shit. Nobody represents anything. It's just a bunch of soft losers. It's like the NFL now. You can't even tackle anybody. It's a 15-yard penalty. Anyway, it's just, I'm so sick of all of it. But yeah, there really should be an army of, and by the way, I remember this day. I was out there for like 8 hours. We racked up like $15 in super chats that day for 8 hours and doing awesome work. About $15 in super chats came through. And I was like, God, imagine if I was Tim Pool just firing up my nightly live stream, talking out of my ass about a whole bunch of bullshit. There'd be like $10,000 in super chats. What does Tim Pool do for anybody? I haven't seen Tim Pool do anything. Tim Pool. Of course, he's controlled opposition. That's why all the money really flows in. And that's what makes me sick, you guys. It's like, here's somebody doing something awesome in the world, bringing real knowledge, proving exactly what's going on, and there's almost no financial support behind it. And then you got the Tim Pools of the world who are making like $1 million a month on super chats and just, giving their political angled talk about, oh, that's why I'm more into this political corner. And anyway, I guess they're connecting with all the people that are under the mind control, which is almost everyone. So shout out to the super chatters. Timothy and Quentin shipped in $7. I appreciate it. But yeah, again, there really should be 1 million people a month pledging $1 for what we're doing, for what we've accomplished, for the things we've gone out. Again, if you guys missed it, we were in New York City for 9/11 that whole weekend, getting out the word about what really happened on 9/11 with proof, with evidence, with undeniable information. You should have seen what we had the New York Port Authority police looking like on their faces. They knew we were talking facts, But, yeah, we went down to Oklahoma City for April 19th last year. What did they have to do? They had to send out a big special police force just to stop us. They had to, for the first year and all the years of the April 19th memorial, they had to move the tribute ceremony into a church. It was always an outside event until last year, the year we showed up. And that was a last-minute change, and they had the whole police force out there in front of the building waiting for us to come and said, you're not allowed in here, even though it was for the public. And they said if we went in, we would be arrested. So, and this is what it should be, you guys. We should be interfering with their plans all across the nation. In New York City, we made them bring out a whole bunch of police, set up a wall so that we couldn't go on the grounds. Again, we should make the authority work extra hard to try and keep their lies suppressed. Because eventually they'll break down. Yeah, and also do check out the BitChute channel. My BitChute channel is super suppressed, so I hardly upload anything up there anymore. Plus, I have to upload the video 50 times before it processes. But if you go here and search GematriaEffectNews, it says Zachary K. Hubbard, GematriaEffectNews. I'm Zachary K. Hubbard. If you go here, let's see. I don't upload too many videos, so you shouldn't have to scroll back too far. I had to put my YouTube video. Oh yeah, here was a weird time. The Queen's time is limited. Where is that video at? I guess I got busy last February. I was uploading all kinds of videos. Oh yeah, that's right. And then NBC, I remember the little feud I had with them last year. Okay, for a minute I was... So here's the one. On the scene, Richland, Washington, Fred Meyer shooting at February 7th. Again, I'm not going to play this video because they'll probably delete the video. Well, I can play that much and mute it. But if you want to go here and watch, it's probably around 50 minutes where I finally get here. We'll find where it is. Oh, yeah. Remember this guy? What a little turd. Look at him with his slave muzzle on. There, that's Commander Chris Lee. So it's right around here. Where do I start talking to him at? All right, it's right after this. So Commander Lee comes over. If you want to scroll to about 57 minutes in this video, you can hear me talk to Commander Chris Lee, who says he has not been able to go in and see the shooting himself. Only the feds are in there. And remember, the feds arrested the shooter 11 hours after the shooting. And remember, the shooting was on the 38th day of the year. And initially, they reported a 38-year-old killed a 38-year-old. And then they changed it to a 39-year-old killed a 38-year-old on the 39th day of the year, where federal's 39. But again, death, murder, killing, RIP. And by the way, this shooting was at a Kroger-owned store. Fred Meyer's Kroger-owned. It was 201 days after the anniversary of Kroger's death. But, and it was also 322 days after the last Kroger shooting, which was the one King Soopers in Colorado on March 22nd. There's a 201-322 connection through the Illuminati, like how the founder of the Illuminati, who was a Jesuit, died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment on the 322nd day of the year. It all goes back to Genesis 3:22. But yeah, go watch this video. GematriaEffectNews on BitChute. On the scene, Richland, Washington, Fred Meyer shooting. And, I mean, you can watch the whole thing because all these cops, nobody knows anything. I mean, but where I finally get to the guy in charge, Commander Lee, and then he needed me to help him find his sunglasses. Somebody thought that he was like speaking in code when he asked me to help him find his sunglasses, but I'm not sure that was actually the case. We did find out, though, that Commander Lee, he got out of the military at the same time as 9/11. And after 9/11, there were a lot more psychological operations units created. I just wonder if, some of these guys who are in the police, who end up being the spokesperson for these very contrived mass shootings, if they're not in units like that. But, I mean, I can't say I'm super happy with the guy because he never followed up with me. But he did admit on camera, and he knew he was being recorded, that he was not able to... He was not able to actually see the scene himself. He was just being informed of what happened and what to say to the media. So, and notice again, there's no proof of any of these shootings, right? We never see anything. There he's showing me his cell phone about where he's getting all of his information from. So, anyhow, you guys want to check that out? It is there. And shout out to Kent Woods, who chipped in $5. He said there's 2,130,000 U.S. military, 660,000 U.S. law enforcement, and 144 million estimated gun-owning Americans. Yeah, that's why they can't take our guns. Hey, well, and the thing is, a lot of those, if there ever was a revolution, I feel like a lot of the military would take up sides with the truth seekers. So, and good news for Jeff Young. I guess the show will continue into Australia and New Zealand. Just make sure they don't make you get jabbed up. The LA thing, unless I have a last minute change, like I said, I'm probably going to do LA for the Kobe Bryant Day and try to get some momentum, get people hyped up for LA Kobe Bryant Day in August, and then catapult the energy into 9/11 New York. And yeah, it'll just be better weather, and like I said, I can drive down there. Because the thing is, the speaker setup that I want to speak out of, it's really big and bulky. It pretty much takes up my whole suitcase. And then the suitcase doesn't have like any padding, so I worry about like it getting busted up with the way they throw around bags. So I can drive. I can't. If I got lucky, I could drive down there right now. But driving through Grants Pass, oftentimes, they require chains, and I don't want to go through all that. Drive the slow stretch through chains through Grants Pass. And if I do go down there, I mean, I could fly down there with the bullhorn, but speaking through the bullhorn's not nearly as effective as the speakers. So I'm thinking little road trip come August, and along the way is Silicon Valley and the big tech censorship. So we'll save it for later this year. We'll hit big tech, then we'll hit LA for Kobe Bryant Day, and then catapult the energy into New York 9/11 Part 2. So good catch, Itachi. Yeah, I was waiting to see when the Nuggets coach would finally lose. He got his 322nd loss as well. I'll have to think more about that one. We'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Have a good rest of your day. I'll probably be back before it's over. And till next time.